Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our live info session on our engineering programs at Vancouver Island University. We're coming to you live from Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada. I would like to acknowledge that VIU, the Nanaimo campus, where international students study, is located on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw people, where we're grateful to live, learn, work, and play. My name is Leanne Spasnik. I'm the Manager of International Communication and Recruitment at Vancouver Island University. I'll be moderating the session today, and I have just a couple of housekeeping items to start. First of all, we are recording the session today, so please don't enter any personal information into the Q&A or the chat box. You will be able to reach out to us later and book a one-on-one appointment with a recruiter if you would like to discuss your personal situation. And if you have questions, we encourage you to listen to the presentation because your questions may be answered there. We will be available for a Q&A after the presentation. Please enter your questions at that time into the Q&A feature next to the chat. And as we get started here, I'd like to invite you to go to the chat and let us know where you're visiting us from today. What country are you in? It's always interesting for us to know where people are from. And as you do that, I'd like to introduce our faculty member today. I'd like to introduce Dr. Brian Dick. He is the chair of our engineering programs. Hi, Brian.
Hello, Leanne. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second.
So far, we see we have someone from Canada visiting us. Any other international students there? Do we have anyone joining us from other countries? Oh, we have someone on from Romania. Welcome. Cool. We'll check in with that again after the presentation. Continue to enter your countries in. We're very interested to see them. We have someone from Pakistan. Welcome.
Great, nice to see you all. And thank you, Leanne.
Over to you, Brian.
All right, I'll go ahead. So yeah, welcome to this short introduction to the Engineering Transfer and Integrated Engineering Technologist program at Vancouver Island University. I'm Brian Dick. I coordinate these two programs, and I hope that this presentation will answer some of your questions as you consider whether to start your studies in either of these two programs. Before I begin most of my presentations on these programs, I like to include this quote by Gene Cernan, commander of Apollo 17. You are considering entering an exciting field. The career pathways open to you through studying engineering technology are vast, even one that may take you to the moon. This limits is only your imagination. To get a sense of some of these pathways, here's a slide created by IEEE, a professional organization for electrical and electronic engineers. You can see some of these pathways are open to you through studying engineering and technology. If you have an interest in almost any area requiring a problem to be solved, there is an engineering field for you. Let's look at these. You have civil engineering. This is one of the oldest engineering fields. This field distinguishes itself from what engineering was usually associated with, i.e. usually creating things to break other things. The civil engineers refers to civilian and was describing basically those individuals who designed many of those structures to begin with. Environmental engineering, this is a big field and captures many areas. It is becoming particularly important now as we try and correct for and adapt for climate change and other environmental challenges. Sustainable design is the core part of the first-year engineering design program in many schools in Canada, including VIU, and is continued as a core part of the Integrated Engineering Technologist program. Biomedical engineering, particularly now as population ages, enhancing people's lives through medical technologies is becoming more important. In this field, you may work on designing assistive devices for those who need them, heart valves, limbs, etc., or enhance operating procedures through the use of robotics or remote access tools. So why VIU? Well, studying at university can feel kind of daunting, and yet it can also be very exciting. At VIU, we offer small class sizes, professional faculty, access to dedicated lab facilities, and your success in achieving your career and personal goals are our focus. We strive to create a holistic educational experience for you. For example, All students have the option of completing a co-op term during the summer. This is a term where you work at an engineering or technology company over a 4-month period, gaining training and insight into what an engineering or technologist job involves, and may also help you make decisions on which field is best for you. Some of the local companies in which our students have been placed are shown on this slide. And of course, you are getting paid during the term, which helps you pay for your studies later on. Personally, I think one of the greatest benefits of these positions is not so much the opportunity to get paid, but it's the opportunity to network. Remember that most jobs are found through people you know, and networking is very important to building your career. Co-op positions have led many to their first jobs after graduation, including myself. This slide shows images of some of the activities we have undertaken through this program over the years, trying to get you excited about studying here at VIU. We have taken students on tour of Triumph, which is the linear accelerator, or it's a cyclotron over at UBC. We've taken them for tours at UBC as well as University of Victoria. We brought students to an LNG terminal in a city close to here. We brought them to a pulp factory, and we've also taken them down to Seattle to visit the Boeing plant. Also, the two images on the bottom of your screen show a trip that we recently did to Tre Vinh University in Vietnam, where 9 of our students, first-year engineering students, worked with 9 of their students, also first-year engineering students, over a 3-week period on a variety of engineering projects and share in cultural activities. Other opportunities we provide is the first-year membership to the Engineers and Geoscientists of BC, or EGBC. This is the professional organization that all engineers in BC need to be registered in order to practice. This membership provides you access to all the benefits that they have, including scholarships. You also get access to networking opportunities, including a number of events offered through the local branch of EGBC. All students also complete a major cornerstone project in the end of their first year, where we celebrate their achievements to the broader community, and some of those images are shown on this slide. Graduates from the program also receive a VIU engineering lapel pin to display their accomplishments. We have a Student Leadership Award voted on by the first year cohort and offered to the individual in the class who has had the greatest impact on the broader success to all. That's at the top corner. We also partnered with EGBC to create a play area during the study period. In this case, access to a bunch of Lego and Kiva blocks for you to build over that time. And of course, you have access to dedicated project spaces, including a machine shop, fabrication facilities, and a design studio, as well as a CAD space, or that CAD meaning computer-aided drawing. So what are the details of these two programs? All students intending to study engineering will enter VIU through the Engineering Transfer Diploma. Once accepted, you'll have guaranteed access to seats in all courses within the first-year curriculum. You have access to an optional co-op after your first or second year. And you're able to exit the program after 1 year with the Engineering Transfer Certificate, providing a transfer pathway to almost every engineering school in BC, as well as the University of Alberta, to complete your engineering studies. The Integrated Engineering Technologist Diploma provides a pathway to a technologist credential, which focuses on civil, mechanical, and drafting principles. It consists of themes including CAD and sustainable design, and introduces students to a solid practical foundation in civil, mechanical, and electrical design, with courses in entrepreneurship and project management. It also includes a capstone project. Co-op is a mandatory part of this program. One other interesting feature of this program is, and somewhat unique to VIU, is that it is a cohort program, and we are approaching it with a competency-based model. And by competency-based, it means that you will progress through your courses, well, rather, I should say, you're progressing through the learning outcomes of your courses in the order that makes the most sense. You will also move through as a cohort. Your instructors are working as a team to deliver the content. You will be within the same space and be with the same students throughout your studies. You're also going to be essentially starting your classes like a full-time job. You'll arrive at around 8:30 in the morning, and you'll leave around 4, and the courses will be sprinkled within that time. You may be asking yourself, what is the difference between an engineer and an engineering technologist? The primary difference is one of practice scope. Engineers tend to be more focused on theory and design, while technologists tend to be more focused on application and implementation. Math background is typically higher for an engineer, while practical, hands-on skills are emphasized within technologist programs. Both are able to do design. However, the scope of the design is often more limited for a technologist. However, I should point out that having either an engineering or a technologist degree does not necessarily inhibit your ability to achieve, to progress further in your careers. There are many technologists, despite not having an engineering degree, who essentially do engineering work as their careers progress. Here's an image from the American Board of Engineering and Technology, and this is here mostly to show how the activities that these two professions do are split. I'll just leave it here for a second. This slide has a bit of data, but I just wanted to show it to indicate how the engineering transfer diploma and the integrated engineering technologist diploma are connected. Students in both credentials will take the same first year of studies, consisting of math, physics, computer science, engineering design, and English courses. This is considered a full academic load, i.e. you'll be taking 5 courses a term, and equivalent to someone doing a full-time job. For those students wishing to exit the program, this first year program rather, with an engineering transfer certificate, will typically add 1 course in the fall and 1 course in the spring. This is the pathway shown to your left. This equates to 6 courses a term, equivalent to someone doing a 20% overtime every day in a full-time job. So it's not an easy path. Otherwise, after first year, students can continue along one of 2 paths. The first is the engineering transfer diploma, which is intended to take you to UVic to complete your studies. This program consists of additional courses on chemistry and statics and dynamics, as well as second-year math and engineering courses. Complementary studies are also intended to broaden your educational background and are a requirement for any engineering program in Canada, including UVic. These courses are outside of engineering and science, and typically in the arts and humanities. Science electives are those courses in science that some disciplines may require for graduation. The second path that you can take is the Integrated Engineering Technologist Diploma, which leads you to employment after an additional 1.5 years at study at VIU. The reason these programs have been developed this way is that it's often difficult to know which path you want to take when you start in first year. By having that common first year, students can start in either of these 2 pathways, but then after first year, have the option to switch into one or the other. So if you decided you want to come in under the technologist stream, and after first year decide you want to take engineering studies, you can transfer to that after first year. And it's the same if you come in with an intent to do engineering studies and enter the engineering transfer diploma. After 1 year, you could decide to switch over to the technologist program and continue your path along that route. So what do you need for entry? Well, as both credentials have the same first year, both also have the same entry requirements into first year, and these are shown on the slide. You should remember that these are both limited entry programs. And so the grades that are shown here are just minimum requirements, but not necessarily the requirements for any given year. The actual grade cutoff will change depending on demand and seat availability, and is often a little bit higher than what is shown. Well, we're almost finished. If you have any questions, I welcome them being asked after I stop sharing. On the next slide, I also show a link to the department website, which I would welcome you to check out and look at more details about both courses. Thanks for your attention. I look forward to welcoming you at VIU. Take care.
Thanks, Brian. I wanted to note that during your presentation, we also had a room from Malaysia join us. Welcome. We have one question that's come in so far from Facebook. Can students complete the Integrated Engineering Technologist Diploma and transfer to other universities and complete a bachelor's degree?
I'm on mute. The standard question that comment I get. So the question is, if you, after completing the Integrated Engineering Technologist Diploma, can you then switch back into engineering and complete your studies? The answer to that is possibly. Many students do complete a technologist diploma, and they do what's called a bridge program that will bring them into third year, typically at UBC. Or UVic. These are local universities here. I can't speak for outside of that, but I suspect it would be similar. So there may be an option to do a bridging program. We haven't had a student particularly do that route, so I can only speculate right now, but I think there should be no issue with that.
So if they start their careers in one, they can come back and continue on with their study stream.
Yeah, it's usually like if we talk to professionals, professionals in industry, they would often suggest like this idea of deciding between engineering technologists. If you're not really sure about which one or the other, the technologist pathway is a nice one because it leads you into the career pathway within the first 2.5 years. Engineers and technologists work together on many projects in many firms, and you often feed off of each other. And after a while, after you've been in industry for a while, some technologists may decide to go back and do a engineering career, or others will just continue on because you progress. You often progress as quickly as you want, and it often is very firm dependent as well.
The technologist career stream, the earning potential there is quite good as well, right from graduation, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the engineers will typically be higher. I would say a first year, right out of a bachelor's of engineering, you're probably getting to around, I would say around 60-ish thousand Canadian. But a technologist pathway would probably be down or be around a 50 or so. And could rapidly rise. So there's not too much of a difference in pay gap upon departure, especially considering the 1.5 year difference in study time. And a 1.5 year on paper. Engineering pathways will usually take 5 years to complete, although it's often showing it's 4 on most in calendars.
Yeah, Brian, I was talking with one of our students just recently, and he was saying that he found that studying his first year at VIU and then transferring, this particular student went to UBC, he just found that there was so much value in having the smaller class sizes because he was able to be, he felt so much more successful in his program because of the attention from professors.
Yeah, I would agree with that comment. That's been the typical feedback we have received from students. Our typical class sizes in first year are anywhere between 30 and 60. Students break out into labs that are usually on the order of 16 or 18 students in those labs. I should also point out that within the engineering technologist first year, you move through as a cohort as well. So you're kind of working with the same 16 to 20 students through the entire year. So let's just say many students don't know each other when they first come in. That's because they're coming from all over. But by the end, they're often best of friends. They've been working on many projects together, and often if they do transfer, they often transfer to the same school. They may even be sharing accommodation when they go and so on. So that's been very deliberate on our side to ensure that community is built. But yeah, going back to the size, the students having 16 to 20 students in a class is an advantage. The instructors are here to teach. They are the instructors for the class. We don't tend to have TAs and so teaching assistants here. And yeah, contrast to a first year class at a larger university, they can have anywhere of 500 to 1,000 students in a particular class. And even the studios, the labs themselves could still have about 60 students within them. So it's a different context. And students have, because of that, we can provide better access to some equipment and tools and labs and so on that is not as easily available at some of the larger schools, at least the first year level.
We have a question from Camilla in the Q&A. How do you work with international students? That's a pretty broad question. How do you work with international students? I'd just like to say from the start of it, you'll be dealing with the Faculty of International Education. So that means that you'll have a recruiter and admissions and advising support from staff who are specialized in the needs of international students. And once you start your program, Brian, can you talk about international students in your program?
Sure. First, I will say that engineering design, which is a course actually I instruct, is one of the core deliverables from the first year. Engineering design is based around diversity of thought and background to create an opportunity to provide the best possible solution. And to get to the best possible solution for a problem, you need as many different perspectives on that problem as you can. And for me, international students provide a real richness to the class. They provide often a different cultural perspective. They often have different backgrounds and so on that provides a real depth to the discussion in the class. So as I said, we do have cohorts as we go through. We have about 3 or 4 cohorts. International students are spread amongst the cohorts and integrated within them. So when we do labs and so on in the design course, as an example, the class is mixed up. So when you're coming in as an international student, you are likely going to be working with every one of the other students in that class. And so it gives you an opportunity to also get a broader experience of the culture from west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island, as well as other students who are also coming from all sorts of different places as well. Not all students in the class are coming from this particular region. So it's a great mixing. And I find that's a good opportunity in terms of ideas. On the other side, I mean, myself personally, I have some experience and desire to build intercultural pathways between, say, as an example, our school and this school in Vietnam. I spoke of a field school that we brought students to. This is because their students aren't necessarily able to come here to do studies directly. So our students were going over there, and there was this mixing of cultural experiences as well as also fundamental engineering knowledge that they could share with each other. We've also done projects where we've tied projects with some schools overseas with our students here, so that even if the international students are not directly here, they sometimes are still working internationally by having the students connect in that way. And I should have also pointed the field school that we had was of particular interest to international students. Of the 9 students that we had going, about a third of them were international students already, not from Vietnam, of course, but they were from elsewhere.
So they're having the international experience of studying in Canada, but they can also jump off and go abroad from here.
Yeah, no, because it's a big world to
That's
visit.
for sure. Can I ask Yuka to join us, please? I'd like to introduce Yuka Takai, who is our International Admissions Officer for the engineering program. Yuka, could you please talk about how students can submit their application in a way that it would be most successful? What are some tips that you have for us?
Okay, so students submit that application through our online application form, and then the necessary documents that we need to screen. And I recommend that you submit all the necessary documents. This is the high school diploma and also the high school transcript, and then your passport, and then English proficiency test if you are from the country where the English is not the first official language. Because once you submit all the documents, I can review and then screen your document. But if there is a missing document, I will send an email to you, and then your application will be reviewed later. So to make your application process smooth, I recommend that you submit all the necessary documents in the application portal.
Thanks, Yuka. And I have a specific question as well from Mohammed. Is transfer available from universities in Pakistan?
Who's it direct? Yeah, Yuka.
Transfer question? Sorry, Yuka. Yeah.
About the credit, probably the transfer credit, we should assess that whether it's transferable or not. So the necessary document is I asked to submit the course syllabus, and then we check whether it's transferable or not. So the process is to submit the course syllabus, and then we check your grade, and then discuss with program chair Brian whether it's transferable or not. So this is our process. So it could be transferable, but it's depending on the content, of course.
And if you're seeking transfer credits, we do recommend that students apply very early because that process takes some time. Our admissions folks have to work with the faculty on that. And we're also dealing sometimes with translations of transcripts and things like that.
That's right. And then transfer credit is we assess that after you are accepted. And then like Rian said, it takes around 6 weeks to 8 weeks to complete the process. So that's a great point.
And it is a cohort-based program though, Brian, so they would need to do the majority of their studies at VIU, is that correct?
Yeah, I was going to add we do have, for those students who are wishing to transfer in the engineering pathway anyways, who are wishing to transfer elsewhere, there are also restrictions that we have for students who do intend to transfer. So some of those restrictions include the number of courses that they need to take in their first year. So you can sometimes apply for credits, credits for your first year, but it's not always beneficial for you to take those credits either. It's actually better for you to take the full course load because say if you're going to UBC, you are required to complete I think 11 courses in their first year, which is more than a full-time load. So taking transfer credit does not count, does not decrease that number. So it's often for transfer students who are continuing elsewhere, it's usually better that the number of courses that you transfer would be usually very limited.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mikhail. How is the hands-on experience, the labs, the field schools, the co-op, how are they being delivered during the times of COVID?
Yeah, it's been a changing time. Good question. There certainly has been a number of adjustments, not just in the engineering pathway, but in all the courses. Engineering particularly challenging because of the hands-on component that we've had. So we've really have deliberately built opportunities to continue that community building that I mentioned at the very beginning. We really do try and create an opportunity for students to mix. And so we use platform Zoom primarily for delivering courses. Students are still remote in their first year currently. I won't speak for next year yet, but for this past year, they've been remote. The labs, we make use of in the labs of breakout rooms. So we still mix up students in terms of doing lab deliverables and so on. And they're working together, but they're still working in smaller groups, that usually in their small little pockets, which in those cases, usually I'm finding that many students are having their cameras on and so on. So they're face-to-face, but not like physically face-to-face. They can at least see each other and work on each things together. In terms of the actual activities themselves, yes, we did have to restructure them to activities that could be done within using tools and equipment that students have access to. Many of the outcomes from the design course, as an example, were a lot of teamwork development, group dynamics. There's a lot of, like, we had them last year build cardboard chairs that they had to design for a specific task. So cardboard they could access from their home, and they had to, collectively come with the design, and they had to build it, and then show that they came to the same build at the end, and so on. And we did all this remotely. In their physics labs, they were the same idea. They were doing videotaping of labs being done, and then they were taking measurements from videos and doing analysis. Those are much more individual in those labs. But at least on the engineering side, which I can speak to, I felt that there was still a richness that was still available for students to get that practical aspect, but also more importantly, they intermixed with each other as a community, leading into the current term where we're continuing that sort of exercise through. We're about halfway through right now.
And I wanted to mention that for students who do travel to Nanaimo, even though we're still studying for the most part online, we do have services open on campus. Our VIU library is open 24/7 for students to use computers and to access the services there, like the Writing Center. And then we have certain other services around campus that are open. So we do have students who are on campus in a very safe way. They have to follow our COVID regulations.
Yeah.
From Arum, may I join this course after the MBA? Brian? Do you have students who pursue graduate studies and then study in your program?
I don't see why not. The pathway is usually the opposite. Usually students start in engineering and then do an MBA, but I don't see why you couldn't do the opposite. There may be, again, it goes back to those transfer credit piece. It would probably still be best to do a first year fully again. And I might suggest, if you already have an MBA, that you may not be, well, unless you're particularly young, you may not be looking at doing a full engineering degree after an MBA, because that would be another 5 years. But the technologist program may be a great opportunity to sort of add your MBA experience, so your business savvy, to but then append it with technical background and design to move products into the business space. So that adding an extra 2.5 years to an MBA is probably more feasible time-wise than perhaps the engineering path. But I don't see why either wouldn't be possible.
And Aram, I would just suggest that you speak with a certified immigration consultant, because you may have some study permit implications there too. So you would want to get some advice on that. And also from Aram, is there any age limit?
No. The quick answer is no. We have students in our program that are direct from high school. So they're, many of them are maybe 18, 17, 19 years old. We have many mature students as well. We call them when they're over 25. And I have some students in the class that are my age. So they're, they range, there's no real age limit. So we have many cases where individuals from the community, from industry, from whatever, they decide to come back and do additional studies and want to take a different career path. So no, short answer is no.
And we're coming up to the end of our time here. We're about 3 minutes over right now. So I just want to let everyone know we'll be closing the session soon. If you have any last minute questions, please enter them now. Brian, as we close up here, we have someone who, I believe Vikram joined us a little bit late, and I wonder if you could give us a quick synopsis of the programs that are available in the engineering department.
Yes, we have 2 entry programs. Those are the Engineering Transfer Diploma and the Integrated Engineering Technologist Diploma. Those are our 2 entry programs. They both share the same first year. We have a 3rd program that isn't an entry, it's an exit program. So you can start in first year in either of the Integrated Engineering Technologist program or the Engineering Transfer Diploma. And if you add a couple courses, you are able to leave VIU with an engineering transfer certificate after 1 year. And that would lead you to engineering schools throughout the province as well as the University of Alberta. If you continue with the engineering transfer diploma, you're leading to a path at University of Victoria for engineering studies to continue them, or you can continue at VIU for another 1.5 years and complete the integrated engineering technologist diploma. So we have 3 credentials, but 2 of which are the entry credentials.
Great. I think we've reached the end of our questions here. We do have a team of recruiters who are here to support you as you make your decision. So you can email us at worldviu@viu.ca and we'll connect you with the person for your region. We have 5 global offices for recruitment at VIU. And so you will likely have someone in your time zone who can assist you. So we'll wrap up at this point. I'd like to thank you, Brian, very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you,
And
and thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Again, that email address is worldviu@viu.ca, and you can also follow us on the social media platforms at worldviu. We have a weekly session on Instagram TV, on IGTV, or Insta Live, where we have students talking to students about living in Nanaimo and about various programs. So you're very welcome to join us there. For now, we'll sign off from Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you on campus very soon.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.